All right, I'm so excited. Today we have Holly Lovett in the building, owner of Better Homes and Gardens, and she's turning the tables on me, and you're going to get to learn a little bit about me personally on Just My Opinion. This is Jessica Duncan's Just My Opinion, and I'm Jessica. There's no handbook to owning a home. That's why I go beyond the transaction to share my advice and tips and opinion for adulting made simple. All right, so I'm excited. Today we have Holly Lovett in the building. Well,
Yes,
it is her building, so she's here.
I'm excited to be here.
Holly Lovett is the owner of Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate, Main Street Properties, and one of the brokers here. She is my boss, I guess you could say, where I hang my license. So
I'll set her straight on that in a second.
So I'm so excited to have her here in the podcast studio with us, both in our green, representing Better Homes and Gardens.
That's it. So Jessica knows what I'm going to say, right? Jessica doesn't have a boss in this world except for herself. If anything, I am her boss, and I work for her and for her clients and to help make sure that they have the support that they need for their real estate adventures. And we love working together. It's been a great partnership.
Absolutely. Going a little over 6 years now.
Yeah, hard to believe. So you've done some really great shows on different industry topics, everything from mortgage rates to strategic shows, and I've become a big fan.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to turn a corner today and talk a little bit about
Should I be nervous?
Yes, you should be. Well, I am a big relationships person. I think that's why you and I get along so great. We understand the power of that. And you've got some really cool things, both in your real estate background and in your before real estate background, and just who you are and the things that you do. And I want to make sure your listeners are aware of all that stuff, so they're getting the full Jessica.
So you're putting me in the hot seat today, right?
I am. I'm switching the table around and putting you in the hot seat.
I'm ready. Bring
You
it
ready?
on.
Okay.
Bring it on.
All right. So what was your background, Jessica, prior to real estate, and how do you believe it's contributed to your crazy success, both as an agent and as the leader of an agent team?
So how far back do you want to go? My first business or
whatever you're most
business
comfortable sharing.
When I started when I was 13 as in my babysitting business. No. So my background, I have a degree in marketing and a degree in finance. I dual majored. Most of my career was as a strategist and in the media world, advising clients, building marketing plans, basically solving problems. So I was a big problem solver working with businesses, as well as over the time I've started and sold multiple businesses, and even did prior to that while in college retail management.
Wow, so you've had a lot of experience in a lot of different ways, and I can see those things showing up in your business. How do you believe they've contributed to your success as an agent and as a team leader?
Well, I think a couple ways. My corporate time really taught me a lot of key business strategies, not just on how I personally run my business, but also, and it's definitely guided how I run it, but it's also guided how I take care of the customer and a lot of the training and the knowledge, even down to my sales technique. So in my media world, I learned something called solution-based selling. It is not selling. It is figuring out what the problem is and creating a solution for it. And that's ultimately what I train my team and what I think we do. People buy and sell houses normally, if it's their primary residence, because there is a problem. Their home doesn't fit their needs anymore, whether it's too big, too small, they need to move closer for a job, family, whatever. There is some problem, and that's why they're moving. So if I can really get down and determine what that true problem is, not the surface level that they initially say that isn't always true, but really understand it, then I can help solve that problem. And I think that's one of the hugest things that I take away from corporate. And I'm so thankful for my corporate career of being able to learn that. But I also know how to run a business. I know how to read P&Ls. I know how to determine if I'm profitable or not. And tracking. I learned to track everything from a very, very young age in business. And so I track everything, where every customer comes from and where we're spending our money and where we're getting a return.
Yeah, I love that. And certainly your direct-to-consumer retail sales experience, you had that interface at the client level too, and I'm sure you've brought a lot into your business from that.
One part, though, I didn't mention was being an investor. I didn't even talk about that.
Oh, yeah. You
So I was
should
an
talk about
investor
that.
before I went into real estate. My first house I bought when I was 19 and turned it into a rental a couple months later. That was our very first investment. So being an investor and also a buyer at a very young age, I knew what I wanted out of an agent versus what I used to receive as a customer. And so I definitely took the key things that I learned there and that I would have appreciated more from my agents and put them into my business. And I think that actually probably helped my business more than anything.
I'm sure it did. And guess my next question, you're not going to believe this, was tell me about your first home buying experience.
Yes.
So we know at 19 you bought your first property, and so it was an investment property.
It was my primary residence at first.
Okay.
Ended up living there for 3 months, and then I thought, wow, I want to do this again. So I started building my credit the day I turned 18, and started looking to buy. I looked for about 6 months. I knew what I wanted, and I wanted a deal. So I was a little picky, imagine that. But I finally found the property I wanted. I knew from the moment I walked in, I was like, this is it, we're done. Write an offer. Bought my first house, moved in it, quickly started doing some remodeling, fixing it up, making it a little bit more of what I wanted it to be, and then turned around and, because of my career move, ended up turning it into a rental.
So you don't see many 19-year-olds out there buying a property with the forward vision that one day this will probably be an investment property for me. Where does that come from?
That's a good question. I mean, having a degree in finance definitely helps, and understanding that, buying a home is an investment where, you rent a house, you're building someone else's equity when you're renting, and understanding I didn't want to rent. It also came out of necessity of needing a place to live. And I really wanted to have something that felt like my own, that I could call my own. And my grandmother was an investor as well, and she had a lot of influence on my life. So I always knew from a very young age that I would be a real estate investor. I always understood that my grandmother went to work to make a living, but she bought real estate to build wealth. And those are two very different things. And I knew that at a very young age, and I knew that that was something I wanted to pursue.
What a great legacy she has left
in
you in that
I think
regard,
she would
definitely
definitely be proud.
Is there anything, looking back on that first experience that you had, because obviously you can research it, but until you're in an experience and having it, is there anything looking back on that first home buying experience that sort of guides or you see showing up in your service and techniques with your clients today?
100%. I actually went through 3 agents. I forgot to mention that part.
Oh.
Yeah, I went through 3 agents before I actually settled on one, or I looked at houses with one and then got rid of her, and then another one, and then finally the third one listened to me. The biggest problem I had is we were approved for one amount, but I wanted my house payment at a different amount. So I wanted to look at less than I was approved for. I was 19 years old. I didn't want to become house poor. I was also in college and working. The last thing I wanted to be was house poor, and I was very financially conservative. And so I wanted a lower price point than what they kept showing me. And what I found is they wouldn't listen to me. All they saw was that pre-approval and what I qualified for. And so, which wasn't much. Again, I was 19, but still they kept pushing me towards the higher price point. I kept saying, I don't want that house payment. I don't want that house payment. Why are you not listening to me? Why are you not showing me stuff in my price range? And so with my customers, I am very intuitive to their price range. As a matter of fact, I tell them, listen, I'm not going to go up on the price, even though you qualify for more, until you tell me. I want them to tell me, hey, let's go up a little bit. I'm not finding what I want. And
that's a great point in excellent customer service, that certainly in our field, what you're pre-approved for and what you're comfortable spending may be 2 very different numbers. As you said, we're not looking to set anyone up to be having no quality of life because they're just working to make their house payment.
Yeah, and we talk about that in our buyer strategy meeting. When I sit down with the customer, what do you qualify for? And I talk to them about what that house payment looks like. How comfortable are you with that? But I also need to know that, because sometimes going up in price, but maybe with something like new construction that's offering an interest rate buy down or something, can actually go up in price and lower their house payment.
Sure. Yeah.
So if it's about that house payment, then I'm not just looking at the purchase price of the house. I'm looking at that house payment to make sure they're comfortable. And sometimes that means the purchase price may be more if there's an incentive to get that rate buy down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so let's talk about some of these great things that you do for your customers and clients. I'm going to say they're legendary. So I've heard lots of things about the perks that your current and your past clients, customers enjoy. It's obvious that you really get customer appreciation. So give us a flavor of the types of things that you do for your past clients.
I think the biggest thing is I don't go away. And it's funny because people think I'm joking when I say that, but no, really, I don't go away. And I hear that all the time. They'll tell me like a year later or something, you really don't go away. And I'm like, no, I don't.
Also, almost could have a creepy edge to it. You don't go away.
No, I mean,
No,
I
it's
really
wonderful.
I want to be there for their lifetime, for my lifetime on, being able to advise them when it comes to real estate. I want to be the resource when they have questions. My clients call me all the time for if they're new to the area. Hey, what's a good place to take my wife to an anniversary dinner? What's a good place to buy this? Down to where should I go to get new tires? Who can I trust? Like, they call me for everything, but they also call me on their house. Hey, I'm thinking about remodeling. If I'm going to do this addition, what budget should I put a cap on to make sure I'm not upside down in their house? So I'm continuously being that resource. We do educational classes a couple times a year. If I keep hearing the same question coming up from customers, then we would do a class on it. So when solar panels, that question was getting brought up like 3 times a week. We did a class on it. Insurance costs started increasing. We did a class on it. So we'll do educational classes like that for our customers. We do a lot of client events that we invite clients to come and
I'm
enjoy.
aware. I mean, I may need to be a client just so I get invited to some of these soirees. I have become aware.
Yeah, so we do bands on the beach where all they have to do is show up, and we bring a cooler, drinks, chairs. We have our section of green.
Right.
Everyone's like, how do I get green chairs when we're out there? But we do that. We do our client appreciation party, which is called our thankful party, the first Sunday in November every year. And that is, once you're a customer, you're always a customer. As long as we're still your agent of choice, then you get an invitation to that. And we have a live band and boil a bunch of shrimp and just spoil them for the day. So we do a lot of that. I really focus on, because we're 100% referral based, so the way we get customers is our customers refer others to us, and people who haven't quite yet needed our services. So there's people who maybe have not needed real estate services, but they run into people and they refer us to us.
Sure. Yeah.
Those people who refer us business, we treat the same as our customers. They are part of our inner circle, as we call it, the JD inner circle. And we just want to love on them and spoil them. And we send them tickets, baseball tickets and hockey tickets. And we buy tickets to every sporting event in town. And I maybe go to one a year. So I buy them just to give back to my customers. And because we're that referral-based business, we're not doing what most agents do and spending all that money on marketing, buying leads. So instead of buying leads, I take that money and spend it on our customers and give it back to them and provide a different level of service throughout the transaction and beyond the transaction.
And there's an unspoken layer to that for me. I've worked with thousands of agents in my career, and the following through after the sale is not always their biggest strength, right? Just kind of on to next, right? I'm here if you need me, and they move on. You make such an effort to stay in touch with people and to remind them how important they are to you and how critical they are to you and your team's success, that it's just really refreshing. And there's this underlying layer of an unspoken, because you don't need to say it out loud, I stand by my service. I'm going to call you the day after. I'm not going to be hoping you don't call and that something's wrong with the house. I'm going to call you and make sure everything's okay. And if you need help with something, I'm going to make that happen. And I love that about your service dedication, that's such a strong part of what you do. Actually, it's not about just getting the sale, right? No. It's about taking care of the client forever.
I don't just want that one sale. And I tell my customers that up front. I don't want to just do this one transaction with you. I want to build a relationship that I am your real estate resource for the rest of your life and all your families. There are so many families that, from the grandparents down to the nieces and nephews, I have helped. I can go to a baby shower
invitations
and I
to the family
everyone.
reunion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes, and I
great.
love that, though. I think, to me, that's an honor. That's an honor that I took such good care of them that they chose to send their family members to me.
And I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate to this, but all of us, whether we're real estate professions or we're in some other business, are much more likely to use someone, a service provider or what have you, themselves, right, rather than to refer. When you refer, there's a lot of, responsibility. I want this to make me look good, not something else, So the fact that you've earned that loyalty in those referrals and repeat business from so many people just says what you don't need to.
Well, thank you. And I see that as an honor. So That is one thing that I get people just coming in off my website. And I have to remind my customers when they go to refer me someone, I'm like, hey, don't send them to my website. Give them my cell phone number or text me their cell phone number. And the reason why is because people do just go on my website just to find me. They may not actually get me or anyone, because if someone is sending me a referral, I'm going to work that tenfold before I worry about who's going to my website. I'm always going to worry. I don't care the price point. Someone took the time to tell someone about me. That's my most important priority, not someone who found me on the internet just Googling. I want the person who I'm going to give them that full attention and make sure that I make that person who took the time to refer me proud.
It's a big responsibility.
It is.
So obviously we're here in the Pensacola, and I know you service all the way over to the Gulf Coast portions of eastern Alabama as well, licensed in both of those states. So if someone, because I know how popular this podcast is getting, and that's exciting. So obviously we have folks listening from all over the country. So if someone is in that boat and they're not living here in the Florida, Alabama, Gulf Coast area, is there any way that they can benefit from your expertise? Is there any type of service that you can provide to people in that situation?
Absolutely. So I think there's a couple different things. One, the podcast, it's really, yes, it is. Some of the things we talk about are very specific to Florida, but a lot of it's adulting made simple. It's the stuff we all have to do now, right? That no one teaches us about. So a lot of it can apply to wherever you are. There are insurance things that are very specific, maybe hurricane things that we talk about that are specific. But as a general rule, the podcast can be a great resource just for those life adult things we have to do.
Information.
An information resource. And also our social media, Facebook, Instagram, we put a lot of content on there to help with those same type of things. But the other thing is, just because I'm here, if someone needs an agent someplace else, they can always reach out to me and I will go find them a good agent in that place. And what I do is I go look at their stats, I look at their sales, I look at the area they're looking to go to and how much experience they have in that. I read their reviews, and then I call and interview them. And I interview a couple of them until I find what I think is the right person for this particular person that is going to be working with them. And then I match them up together. So I guess you could say I'm a little matchmaker for real estate agents all over the country.
What if somebody needed help in Boulder, Colorado? You would do that for them?
Absolutely, I do that for them because it improves our profession too. If everyone has a good experience in real estate, to me, it just brings our whole profession up, right?
Right. All ships rise with the tide.
Exactly. Exactly. If we just continue to provide excellent service and I try to help connect people with good service providers, then our industry as a whole is just going to go up.
So from San Francisco to Wichita, Kansas to Boston, Massachusetts, wherever they are, if they're looking to transact and don't have someone that they trust that can lead them through that process, you can help them find that.
Absolutely. I've done it for Puerto Rico, Alaska, Hawaii.
Oh, you're being much more exotic than me. Wow.
Yes, okay. Absolutely. Right. Puerto Rico was a little hard, but actually I was able to pull in some local resources, some Puerto Rican customers from Puerto Rico for some little help and some guidance down there to help get a customer a real estate agent.
And how did it work out?
It worked out great.
Awesome.
Of course it worked out great because I'm not going to stop until we find the right one.
Persistence should be your middle name. Okay, so I love that fact that wherever somebody's listening from, that they can benefit, they can reach out, and you will assist them in finding an agent that can pass muster with your interview, and I know that's going to be a big deal. So you're wired a little differently, if you didn't know that. If you didn't know that, you're wired a little bit differently, and it's obvious that you're driven by things that from service providing up to the sale to what you do after the sale. And I've been witness to a lot of your business mentality and strategies and how you process things. So when I say you're weird,
I'm very weird.
I say it with every bit of love I could possibly say. But here's my question for you. What is your driving force as an agent, as a person? Just what gets you out of bed with that zest to serve, slay the dragons of poor service, and do these things day after day, year after year with such a positive, energetic outlook?
You're making me tear up over here. You're making me get emotional. I mean, gosh,
so where
such nice comments.
From?
A couple of things. I mean, first and foremost, my most important goal in life is to lead my life with integrity. And that is just who I am at the core. If you give me an extra 20 at the store, I'm going to turn around and give it right back to you. Like it's who I am. I can't be any other person. So that drives everything I do. But I want to leave this world knowing I made an impact, and I made an impact on people's lives. And that's what I love. And I get up every day going, you know what? It's not, I got to go show a house today, or even I get to go show a house today. It's, I'm about to help this family make the most important decision and purchase of their life.
Yeah, it's game time.
Big. Like, I've got to be on game for them, on point for them, and making sure I am advising them the best I can. And I love that. I love to be a part of their lives. And when I see the stuff on social media and I look back and I see their family enjoying the pool in the summertime and the pictures they post or their holiday dinners, that helps me. That encourages me. It just warms my heart to know I helped that family. Even if they don't realize how much I helped them, I know I helped them and I helped make an impact on their lives, because there's not a lot of education around this stuff. There's not a lot of people who teach us finances or teach us how to make a right decision,
especially
in buying a
without
house.
a motive.
Yes, you can pay for it. Go buy this system, go buy this program. And I think that we make such impacts on people's lives that I love that. I want to leave this world knowing that I made an impact on other people's lives, a positive impact on other people's lives. I don't, when I'm dead and gone, the most important thing that you will probably be reading, since I've already put my deposit down, is that, I want people to go, not she was just a successful businesswoman or whatever. What did she do with that success? And what was her driving force? Like, did she make an impact on others? Not just the financial impact, or, I want people to say, you know what, she really changed the direction of my life, or she changed the financial direction of my life. That's what's important to me.
And you're creating with some of these, especially first-time home buyers, people that never expected. And I know you're a luxury agent as well, and you help people with some really big purchases. And then there's also the first-time home buyers that receive that same level of just absolute stellar service. And, for them, that's a generational change for many of them, especially if they thought, this is never going to be for me. I'll never be that person.
And it's funny because, the luxury stuff, obviously I love, but just because they have money doesn't mean they don't have problems too.
Right.
We are making an impact even on the luxury homes, people's lives. More money, more problems, right?
Yeah.
The bigger the house, the bigger the problems sometimes. So, we help people through divorces. We help people when a family member dies. We're maybe helping the children get rid of the parents' estates. Like, there's just so much involved with what we do that we are impacting families' lives. And I love the luxury stuff, yes, but I also love the first-time home buyer. I mean, we've got one right now that we're probably another 3 months out from her being able to buy. We've been working together for about 3 months. Started with trying to help her improve her credit and get her credit to a good place. She just texted me the other day. Her credit score is already up 30 points.
All right.
She was already pretty close, so we're just trying to get her high enough to be able to get her some first-time home buyer money to help her. But, she told me in our meeting, she's like, this really means a lot to me and my daughter. I will be the first person in my family to ever buy a home.
Oh, wow.
And that is just for me.
Now you're going to make me tear up. You could warn me a little bit. Wow.
That's what gets me out of bed. And just because some houses are luxury, sometimes we're helping those families through some important tough times as well. And I like being there and helping people through those tough times.
There is a lot of talk about, realtors' paychecks and depending on where you listen and what you listen to, some of it's just insulting in a way, because so many people don't realize that for those of us who are passionate about this business and have committed our lives to it, the emotional paychecks far outweigh any number that could ever be on a piece of paper. And just what you just shared about being the first in her family to own a home. I mean, you're leaving a mark.
I have one couple, and I won't say their name because I don't want to give their financial information, but I'm so proud of this couple because when I first met them, they were a young married couple. I helped them buy their first house. And at the end of buying the house, anytime someone talks about maybe making extra payments or even starts to inquire about that, I'm like, oh, let me show you how cool this is. I have this Excel file, and like it can show you if you just make an extra $100, how much you'll save in interest. And so I gave that to them, and they worked really hard. They were also finishing some more education and advancing in their careers. They were able to actually paid their house off all but $10,000 in about 6 years. They reached out to me. They had a child in the meantime as well. And they reached out to me and said, hey, Jessica, so we think we're ready to upsize. We're ready to, get something better. We really appreciate your help before. So when I sat down to start talking to them, I'm like, well, how much do you owe? Where are you at? And they're like, we only owe $10,000. I'm like, what? They're like, well, you
taught them
to
well.
us. Like,
you taught them well.
Oh, I'm so proud of
yes.
y'all. Other than wanting to keep your financial information private, I would put y'all on every billboard, every show, everywhere, just like to brag about how well they have done.
True poster child.
Yes.
It's awesome.
But that was so cool to be a part of that experience and be a part of their first house. And then we actually went and got them a new house, much larger and more room for their growing family. And then because they were in such a good financial situation, we were able to buy that one and let them move out before we sold the other one. So life was even easier on them. So that experience was amazing.
You probably wear a little bit bigger hat than just real estate agent for that family. I'm sure you are going to go down as someone who impacted their life in so many ways. And that is what I love about this business. And it's just one reason why I am so proud to have you here at this company.
Oh, thank you.
And representing our brand, because you are so in alignment with our belief system and our desire to provide that level of service. So we really appreciate you. Okay, those are my main questions, and you sailed right through
Other than
them.
making me cry.
We made us both cry.
I didn't know we were going to be emotional today.
So is there anything else you think that your listeners really need to know about Jessica Duncan and the Jessica Duncan team? And
I mean, I guess I could tell them a little bit about my personal life. I'm not as public about my personal life.
I had a couple of questions in mind. I'm going to guess, not really, that someone coming out of their teenage years, 19, still a teenager, buying a home and having that kind of vision for your life, could only be because you just had such an incredibly stable childhood, right? Isn't that right?
Yes.
Am I guessing that right there?
Yeah, I can sense the sarcasm there. Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't say my childhood was perfect by any means. I think I had a lot of really good people around me at times, and I had a lot of really rough times as well. But I will say that I came out of my teenage years wanting one thing more than anything in life, more than being successful, more than college. But the most important thing to me was to have a happy home with someone who loves and respects me, that I wanted to come home to. And that was huge for me. I got really lucky. I met an amazing man when I was 16 years old. Crazy. Never expected to do that. I was not the girl that dreamed about her wedding at all. As a little girl, I dreamed about the businesses I would start and the homes I would buy. I did not even really want to get married. I wasn't the one who, would pretend or dream about that day, but I met an amazing man, and morals, values were all in line, and luckily we're still together. This year we're celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary. Been together 29 years total.
And he's still pretty amazing, by the way.
He wouldn't be around if he wasn't. Yeah. No, he is. He's an absolutely amazing man and been my biggest cheerleader, my biggest supporter. He never tells me I can't. It's, what can I do to help? I'll never forget the day I came home and told him I was going to quit my job and go into real estate. Sort of hoping he would tell me, absolutely not. Have you lost your mind? And instead he said, you should have done it 10 years ago. It's always been what you love and your passion. How can I help? Yeah. And I thought, holy crap, now I got to do it. I sort of.
Now I've done it.
Yeah, the fear of walking away, right? The fear of the unknown. I was sort of hoping he'd hold me back a little bit, but he's like, no, there's no doubt in my mind. If anyone can do it, you can. So that's huge for me. And he's a part of our team, which is amazing. So talked him into joining us late 2019. He got his license. He started in 2020, right before COVID hit. But he just brings such a different level of intelligence on the construction side and balances me out in the business. And so we really work as a tag team with our customers. And it's funny because people think you work together all day. You see each other all day. We don't. We divide and conquer.
Yeah.
But there's things he's really good at and there's things I'm really good at. He's really good at doing videos for out-of-town customers. Matter of fact, we have local investors that will not even go look at a house. They just say, just send Mike to do videos. I don't need to go see it. And they live in town. We have a customer, actually, he's filming today for a customer. She said, I need a Mike video of this house.
A Mike video?
Yeah, because he's so detailed. Like, he shows them stuff that they wouldn't even notice if they were walking through.
Yeah.
So, and it really helps people feel comfortable buying something sight unseen, right?
Yeah.
So we really balance each other, and he just brings this whole another level of support and professionalism to the team, and I love him. He's my rock. So.
I do too, by the way.
Oh,
he's a fantastic
he's hard not
person.
to love,
He
right?
is. He's very lovable.
And so that's, I guess, a little bit about my personal life.
So you said something when you were talking about your younger years and what it did for you more than anything was to show you what you want, what you're working for, and a loving home. I think I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How does that help drive this passion for service and this just unrealistic responsibility that you feel, and rightfully so, and that you willingly take on above and beyond what I'm aware of many agents doing? Does that at all come from that root of your appreciation for the power of home?
Absolutely. I think I understand that home is security. If you are comfortable in your home, if you know where your home is, it gives you this sense of security, this sense of empowerment, this safe place, right? And that was always my goal and what I achieved and what I wanted. And it's not about the location or the size or any of that. It's about the contents of the character within it, right? Mm-hmm. It's who you're in that home with, sharing it with. And so no matter what size, right? I don't care if it's a 10 on the side of the road, it can be a home that Mike and I share with love, right? And so understanding that customers, it's their security. And while they may not be able to formulate that into words and explain that, when clients get stressed out in a transaction, that's why, to me. It's because their security, if closing gets pushed, like, oh no, where am I going to live? Right. All of a sudden your security, it just goes haywire. And it's an emotional situation that a lot of people don't realize, but I do. And I'm able to guide my customers through that and really understand, even sometimes when they do get emotional, that it's not me and how can I help get them through that. I have a customer.
And they may not even understand it fully, just to that point.
I have a customer right now who we're working with again for the second time. And we helped him, I don't know, maybe 8 months ago or so with a situation. And when he first called me, he said, do you want to help me? And I was like, yes, why would I not? And he said, well, I just really didn't know how I left things when we ended our last transaction together. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, I was in a really rough time in my life. And I said, yeah, you were. I know. I was there going through it with you, like you were. But he said, well, I thought I may have been rude to you or too difficult. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I never walked away from that situation feeling that way. But I did have a lot of compassion for where he was at. He was going through a divorce. He had a child get sick, major sick, and had to have major surgeries, all in the middle of selling his house and having to move. So home, security, gone. Going through a divorce, and then something happens to your young child. Can you imagine? Like, I knew he was emotionally exhausted. And so we did everything we could on our end. I would just say, hey, let me handle that. Hey, let me handle that. Hey, I've got someone going out to do that. And I don't know if maybe he thought by me just handling it, I was like, I don't want to deal with you. But I just knew if I could take that one more thing off of his plate, it would be a better transaction for him. And obviously it worked out well because he came back to us. But I definitely think understanding that emotional task and understanding that home is security, whether people want to realize that or not, it does make you emotional when you don't know where that home's going to be next. Mm-hmm.
So there is one more thing that your listeners probably aren't aware of. Often we see someone operating at the level that you are and also running a team on top of that. You have a personal life, right? So you would think that there's no room in your life for anything else. In the world of I'm too busy to that we hear from a lot of people operating at a high level like yourself, every time I turn around, you're doing a service project. I mean, everything from purse bingo to dressing up in crazy outfits, walking down a runway to, parades, to taking elementary school students, school supplies. And, it feels like you've got something going every week, and you probably do, for different service activities, different organizations, different outreaches. What's up with that? Is that just a way to get more business, or where is that coming from?
No, I think if I just spent that time trying to get more business, I probably could. But no, that goes back to what I said before about, there's one thing to be successful, but what do you do with that success, right? And there's a lot of people along the way that helped me. And I can't tell you every person, but there were times I know people made an impact on my life that I didn't even realize at that time. And so for me to be where I am today, statistically speaking, I should not be where I am today. And with that, to me, comes a lot of responsibility. God put me here and brought me through this and gave me this opportunity. What I do with it now is on me. And there's a responsibility I have to give back. I feel like it is my duty, and I don't have a choice. It's the only way I know how to put it. I love it. It warms my heart. But, doesn't matter how successful you are, what you do with it's what really legacy is going to be about and what matters.
That's right. Well, I've loved taking this time to talk to you and to learn more about you. I hope your listeners have as well. And we'll go clean up and dry our eyes and get ready for some more real estate talk.
Yes. All this emotional and personal stuff. Yes.
I know, but I really love the idea that so much of your life, your entire life, is driven by service, and real estate is one of many ways that you do that. Of course, I was being facetious when I said, I'm sure you don't have time for anything else, because I see what you do. And underlying all of it is this heart to serve and this appreciation of the power of home and security and wanting to leave a mark. And you're leaving a big one.
I hope so. That's the goal. That's the goal, I think that's the mission that God put us all here, no matter what industry we're in. He put us here to leave an impression on others. And hopefully this world is better because we were here. So,
well, it is because you are.
Oh, thank you. All right, so it's time for the home hack. We've been emotional today, and our home hack has nothing to do with emotions, but then again, it could, now that I think about it. Security, yep, it does. Okay, so my home hack each week is just some little tip. It can be an Excel spreadsheet, it can be an app, it can be a device, something that makes homeownership, adulting simpler, more enjoyable, more pleasurable. And this week, what I'm going to talk about is my really cool garage door opener that I love. So if you're in the market for a garage door, you have got to get one of these garage door openers when it's time to replace them. So not only is there an app I can open if I leave the house and I forget, did I leave that garage door open? I can go double check it. So a lot of garage door openers have it, but it's called MyQ. I believe that's the name of the app and everything. So if you're looking for a new one, find it. The other really cool thing, during a hurricane, when you lose power, it has a battery backup and will still open your garage door for like 8 times.
You mean you don't have to pull that little red handle and lift the whole thing up by hand?
Or like when I was, in the Grand Canyon, and all of a sudden Sally hit and my neighbors had to try and get into my garage with no power. Guess what? There's a keypad and it still works. I think it's like 8 to 10 times with the battery backup.
Oh, wow.
So I love that.
Garage door opener shopping.
Yes, a really cool home hack. So if you're in the market for a garage door, check out the ones with MyQ. I love them. This has been Just My Opinion. I'm happy you joined us. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an episode. We are on just about every podcast listening app you can have. So make sure you subscribe and you'll never miss an episode. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Holly, for being here.
My pleasure.
See you again soon. Remember, this is Just My Opinion for adulting made simple.